Hello, people. Ludovico here. Just a short content warning before we begin the episode. We're gonna talk about police violence and suicide in this episode. Now, let's get to the show.
Hello, everybody, for everyone's favorite podcast about the obscure early 2000s X-Files clone from Fox. This is Desert Squid, the queer freaky links podcast, and I'm your lovely host, Alice Full of Water, and my co-host.
Fuck the police!
Yes.
I'm Ludovico. Limited sometimes.
No, it's like how people have middle names. It's Ludovico, fuck the police.
Limited. It's actually lieutenant for this episode.
Yeah, but okay, let's go. Do I read the first part, Ludo?
Yeah.
The episode starts with the pastiche of an episode of Cops that escalates when one of the cops gets blown up by a car. Of course, the Freaking School has to investigate this when they see a person in the car. In the photos, when Derek and Jason go to a scrapyard to investigate the car wreck, when they get caught by police officer Gwen, smelling a freaky link, Derek wants to investigate further. Although everybody thinks getting involved in the car business is a bad idea. Through social engineering, the freaky crew gets a gig to follow Gwen on a patrol. They also investigate in a bar frequented by cops, where they meet Scott Hanover, who seems to be a bad cop. And while on patrol with Chloe, Gwen mentions Officer Renee, who's in a coma after a shootout that left 3 people there.
Long story short, Renee got shot by her fellow officers because she was about to uncover their stolen car racket. And now she's astral projecting as some sort of siren, luring officers who were involved in her shooting into their deaths. Yeah, this escalated. The episode ends with the police chief trying to set the freaky crew up to go down in a hail of police gunfire. But then Renee shows up in her siren form and taunts him into opening fire on the cops, which then in turn shoot him. She then awakens from her coma, not remembering any of the vendettas she committed. Happy ending. Everybody's content with that one.
Heck yeah! God, what an episode!
This is actually genius. Like I said before, like when we first watched this episode is actually like genius.
Yeah, it's like for the era it comes from, for mainstream Fox, not even mainstream, like just for Fox TV of this era. This episode is kind of radical. Not like
I think I'm thinking the same. It has so much fucked up shit in it that's like, oh, this is why policing can be bad. By the way, like it immediately establishes the tone by doing a pastiche of like that cops show.
Yeah,
which then escalates immediately.
I was just mentioning, one of my favorite things about this episode, they really a lot. I think with supernatural TV shows and detective shows and cop shows, of course, there's the world of the police. Often it's just the protagonist is doing something illegal and the police are preventing them, but it's never really questioned. It's more just oh yeah, the police, because you're doing something illegal, has to do that. But in this episode, they said, oh no, they don't care about if the freaking school is doing something illegal. They just want to silence them from revealing to people that they did actual crimes.
Yeah, it's very direct, especially for a 2000s Fox show. I guess they mention Rodney King here, so this is a kind of a reaction to the LA riots and the Rodney King case and all that stuff. But still, around that time, you just didn't see Fox TV except The Simpsons criticize the police in any form. The Simpsons could do it because they were the money pig of Fox, and also because they were tongue in cheek. Mm-hmm. But this episode isn't that tongue in cheek. It's very direct about these are corrupt cops and they're killing people and getting away with crimes.
Yeah, and I think it's what I found very, very interesting about because it doesn't even go with, oh, this is satiric or anything. No, it just goes directly into, hey, cops are bad. Maybe policing's a bad thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as say it does like condemn policing as a whole, because we
Yeah.
still get the two women cops who get like portrayed pretty positively.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
not.
one of them just goes on a vendetta killing cops show. I agree, she's pretty cool. Um, but the thing is, this is a quote from this episode. The one guy that's supposed to serve and protect is out there protecting himself and serving everybody who gets in his way a death warrant. Like
Yeah.
that's in a fucking 2000 Fox show.
Yeah, I think it's what is kind of stunning. Specifically, like, we're gonna talk about like the last one when we cover it next month, but specifically what's very stunning about this season, this last two episodes of Freaky Links, they just go at it, and I love it. I like how this episode really plays specific, like the copy part of it. It was like, oh yeah, the police like just can manipulate reality or like what's true or not, and it does not delve badly into it, but it plays with that idea. That's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's very clever about how it inserts that media stuff. Even the recording of the footage at the start, it's later revealed that it's not actually like from a cop show, but it's framed in a way that makes us think immediately we're watching a cop show, and then it starts turning those ideas from cop shows on its head. Like it lures you in by thinking this is gonna be a normal episode about policing.
This kind of reminds me of another thing. I'll mention this later when you go more into the when you go more into talking about the specific influences of this. But and when I did a lot of research on like just cop and like reality shows like cops, and in specifically I watched the X-Files cops crossover episode
Right.
called the X Cops.
Wow. That's very 90s.
This is like the X Factor never was a radical political show, so I'm not as much as I like it, I'm not gonna amaze me that I have to say this, but that episode is like more conservative than this episode. Even if it's actually a very solid episode, because that episode just following the format the cops queue was filming a thing, but then the Freaklings people, not the Freaklings, the X Files people showed up, and now they found the X Files, and it's kind of just like an X Files story in that format.
Yeah.
It's very like clever, but also it's like doesn't really play with any of that besides just doing that format, which is very interesting, but still like there's like racism and stereotypes there. This Freaklings episode is somehow the more progressive episode of both.
Yeah. I guess the X-File episode sounds like it's interesting in a formalistic way, like in how they like play with the tropes and with the structure of that, and like it's less interesting in a critical way, like analysis way, where like the Freaklings episode totally delivers on that end.
Yeah, like I want to say, it's actually probably like one of the better, one of my, not one of my favorite, but it's genuinely a very good episode of like as a piece of entertainment and like just playing with like formalism and stuff like that. But it still just follows the beat for beat structure of like just still normalizing what cops is, where being Freaklings just goes more anarchic with it.
Yeah. Although I think they also do like some interesting formalistic stuff, but I'm gonna maybe get into that later when we talk about the whole Siren ghost stuff.
Yeah, exciting ghost.
Yeah, because I mean we can get into it if you want.
No, it's just doing so. I want to resolve it. Because I do want to talk about some other things. I'll say specifically about just some minor things. I do like a lot. This episode does not have a lot of humor, but the humor that it has in is very funny. Probably some of my favorite jokes in the series.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to. I watched it today, but I don't remember many of the jokes. But there was some good comedic moments.
No, I'm just mostly thinking of like when they were going like the warehouse place.
Yeah, the callback to the Filipino vampire.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny that they actually mention it.
it it I like the character interaction a lot. There's not like a lot of character development for any of the cast, but it's all pretty okay.
Yeah, it gels really well. Like at this time, the characters are established and they just, uh, yeah, work together and it's like cohesive.
It actually feels like there are even like Lance Bates actually work.
Yeah, she doesn't get a lot of time as usual.
Yeah, but I like the time she had.
Yeah, it's a pretty well written episode. Probably one of the most well written ones. Like of the serious ones, probably the most well written one.
I know I always go back to the old episode when talking about this later half of Wikilinks, but just think of like the serious episode that we first had to talk about. We think of like the ghost episode, or like Filipino vampire, or like White guy. Like
Yeah, this is like way deeper. This is actually like both trying to get you emotionally involved, but also like trying to do like social commentary.
yeah, and I also like it just as a piece of this like entertainment. I guess it's like the character writing is really damn solid. The team zealous and like the scenario, it never feels like it's padding or anything. It feels like going for beat and setting up what it wants to say at its own pace, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Rewatching this, I didn't feel like bored. I actually forgot to take notes for like a 5 minute stretch because I was just getting too involved watching the episode again.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was just looking out for all these little things they like I said that like they say about the police or all the little plots details and stuff. It was pretty nice. Even like
When
rewatching and already knowing the reveal of like the cops being corrupt.
I really like the scene at like the police while
The police what? Up the
the,
bar?
the yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was well paced and structured. And
And
like
also
the
like
actor who's the bad cop actually does a great job at being like a maniac cop.
yeah, but I just like the whole thing of like, oh, the Freakling school thinks that showing the cop the evidence was doing something. We're like, nope, they actually want to bully it.
Yeah, and like holy shit, Chloe just gets tased out of nowhere.
It really feels like playing with like that. This is a thing because like this type of mystery fiction itself comes from like it has its origins, its very old origins in like detective fiction. Detective fiction, even when it's like about like a private detective and stuff, like a lot of this media tends to have like a thing of like, even if they're like an outlaw or something like that, they still have like a relationship where like, oh, if this guy gives the evidence to the police, they will do something about it. And that moment in the bar felt like, I don't know, I'm not gonna say it's commentary, but it felt like very subversive of those relationships and like that this type of like supernatural, even like just detective investigation media. Or like
Yeah, yeah.
the
It basically portrays the Freaky Legs crew as like renegades who don't work really with the police because they even have a whole segment that the police doesn't believe them anything that they say.
yeah, yeah. Like this was already done in other episodes, of course. There was the iconic Filipino vampire episode thing, but this actually plays a lot of the ideas of no one in authority really cares what the Freakling school has to say.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of weird people with cameras.
It's it says a lot that like in the actual lot of the it really says a lot in the actual lot of this how you can go from like Florida retirement home to like immortal Soviet bikers to this, and it feels like all the same song.
Yeah, yeah, they really have like a freedom here that they're like using, and yeah, it's fucking it's making me bummed out. I really think this was like in a way probably the last nail in the coffin for the show.
Mhm.
Like
Like
I can't imagine that like anybody from Fox saw this and went like, yeah, this needs a second season after they like were extremely critical for of cops after not having good ratings.
like to, because I know this show had been it was cancelled 2 times, if I remember well. It was like
Yeah,
Was this episode like already done when like they know they would have a second season?
Yeah, that's something we like heavily speculated when we first watched it, right?
Yeah, because that and like the last one is incredibly like that has to be like done when they know they do not have a sense for a second season.
Yeah, because it doesn't set up a next season, and it's not like it also doesn't resolve like a lot of the stuff. But it
Like
feels like it's commentating on the show itself, which is very. It gets pretty wild. I don't want to give too much away.
yeah, not to go into that, that's not a discussion, but like just say like the freaking when it was made, like even for like incredibly like episodic TV shows, this was no longer the 50s where you could just have like a show running for like 2 million like episodes and then just end with no official ending. So even shows that was formulaic had an ending when it had to end. So like it does make me think about what was going on, but that's for another conversation.
Yeah. Let's focus on the episode at hand.
Yeah, I guess. Do you want to talk a bit about the cop stuff, or like?
Yeah, let's finish up the police stuff until we go to the Siren.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta take a look at my notes here real quick because there are some things that I noticed. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff, like just to notice in like the structure and like who they decide is like a trustful or okay cop and who isn't. It's weird that like all the good cops are women.
I do.
Like that's very interesting.
Like maybe I'm giving it too much, and like it would still have its, but maybe it's a commentary on like police sexism.
Yeah,
maybe.
Probably. Like, but it's also like setting up the like girl cop stereotype that's pretty popular, like getting pretty popular in the late 80s and 90s. Like women officers. Like I can't really tell what the intention was there. But like, I found it interesting that they like use that group dynamic a lot. They show that photo a lot of them like hanging out in that bar, and then basically implying that the 3 or 4 of those people just backstab the other one, and that there isn't like a real loyalty in cops, and they're just protecting their own interests at the end of the day. That was pretty dark. Like, that's one of the last scenes. Just showing that photograph again with sad music.
Well, God, this is gonna be my most, like, discussy joke ever, but I don't care because wow, it's almost like cops don't have worker solidarity.
Yeah.
Ah, it's almost like...
They're not really workers.
It's almost like cops are not workers. Well, makes you think about things.
Yeah, that's deep. No, I really think some things we can read into it nowadays in hindsight, but other things are like so obviously there. Like the whole way, even in earlier episodes, like the black characters basically don't want to have anything to do with police.
Yeah,
like racism is real in Free Killings, and police violence is real. It's not like other shows where it just doesn't exist, and black people are just there and never have like any trouble. This isn't the first episode that even mentions that.
Yeah, though like that, though like some of the writing bits about that feel very like 2000s white guy writing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not saying this is like super woke or anything. It's just interesting to notice that like compared to a lot of Fox shows, they actually like acknowledge that like discrimination and police violence exists.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I find that very interesting. Do they do anything with Jason in this episode about that?
I mean, he just basically is the first one to assume that they're just gonna kill them.
Yeah.
He's basically the one who cracked that code because he already knows how police can be.
Yeah, which feels like compared to the way the show has tackled racism, even
I mean,
with
it's
no
still
intent.
especially. It's still not the like most. It's not as clever as the like police stuff or the siren stuff, because at the end of the day, it's still just a black
Yeah,
guy saying all the time that he's scared of police.
yeah. It still has its issues.
Yeah, it's very much like hammering it in. Like it's not very nuanced or like cleverly put in. It's just like, oh, Rodney King. Like he literally mentions Rodney King.
Yeah,
Like it's really on the nose, especially for like Fox show.
yeah.
And something I really liked is that like it's not like it's like two three lower street cops who are like corrupt or like collaborating with the gangsters. It's like the police chief himself is like involved in the corruption.
Yeah, like that's
It's
very
not.
like
It's very much making a statement about policing and like the possibility of corruption inside it.
yeah, like that's just very interesting point because I'm the person that I am. I watch sometimes a lot of like mystery and detective investigation stuff, and sometimes that goes into me watching police procedures. The thing a lot of police procedures will try to do when talking about like bad policing, even like prestige dramas, they would go like, oh, this the people that are the bad cops, like that work with like drug dealers or something. Those are like the small cops. You got like the small time cop.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, somebody who's at a career impasse and then just decides to become corrupt. That's often like the stereotype.
Yeah, but what this is now, it's actually the police chief, the one with the most power.
Yeah, and he's like abusing that power actively to like get people killed. He doesn't want to like snoop around.
Yeah, this is not like here's like a 40-year-old boss guy with like a neck collar and a tie who like smokes a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and we see him like commit how he does it. We see how he like gives false reports into the police radio to like set people up, or how he like the other cop destroys evidence and all that stuff. That's real things that cops do.
Yeah, the police radio stuff, as with the destroying evidence. Again, I hate to say this, but it's just the Classens Fox shows. It's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's so wild. I really want to know what the thought process was, or at what point they wrote that episode.
Yeah, like the thing is not like, of course, during this time because like I'm older and obscure media guy, but even in the mainstream there were shows that did somewhat more, I guess you could say, laughter, so like progressive episodes on cops and freaklings. It's just this specific thing where freaklings aired, and specifically like the way it was like nobody expected that the Blair Witch so from the Fox people actually have anything to say on policing.
Yeah, like not even Blair Witch itself has like is not a like political commentary, except the second one, and that one is bad political commentary
So the video
about
game,
how
well,
we the millennials and Generation Z were just not intelligent enough to understand that media isn't real.
so the video game, the Blair Witch causes
Yeah,
the
causes the
Gulf War.
Iraq War or something.
Yeah, it causes one of the wars because
Yeah, because like that wasn't U.S. imperialism; it was a witch.
yeah, it was just like an angry witch. That's how things happen, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like the Rasputin caused the Russian Revolution. He cursed the family. That's totally how it works.
No, yeah, that's how the evil demons killed the Portuguese Ghost King, and now the
I just
Portuguese
wanted
Ghost-
to go to the Portuguese Ghost King because I was like, yeah, that's like the same shit.
Yeah, the Portuguese, don't worry, I see Portugal
Oh,
actually.
that's a perfect segue because that leads us to ghosts. Okay, so the thing with this that's like clever from a formalistic perspective, and they even said that in the episode because they know they're clever and they want to tell us. It's so funny. This is a ghost story without a ghost.
Yeah, it's technically
It's
a
technically not a ghost, and she awakes after she kills the people.
So I have not done a lot of research on this. I know silence are things, but they're like, but is this what silence are? They're like
That's the thing. That's where it gets even cleverer because, like, okay, the not clever part is the double meaning of police siren, of course. Like,
Oh yeah,
that's just a pun.
yeah,
Um,
that's fun.
but the funny thing is, the siren originally is like from Greek mythology, I think.
Yeah,
So it's the thing. Like, I read the Odyssey, and it has like a whole part of the sirens, but it never mentions the sirens being like women in a coma that astral project.
yeah, like
That's the part where this becomes pretty original because it basically puts the classic vengeful ghost story into a blender with like comatose people astral projecting and sirens.
yeah, like
So it's a
I'm
triple layer cake.
yeah, my familiarity with silence is just like a couple media that use them, and they mostly like women that manipulate men with singing. That's the
Yeah, that
thing.
just lure you into your doom with like being hot and singing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to stuff your ears with wax. At least they do that in the Odyssey.
Yeah, turns out silence was just like how you say like a cute musician on Twitter that are like, oh, that person's cute, but then you notice that in the profile they have like black metal musician in the profile, like, and this is like, oh no, are they like literally gonna kill me? Are they a Nazi? That's
Yeah,
actually what the
that's the
sign
siren's call.
but yeah, it's very like
It might be originally based on like sailors getting massively dehydrated and then just hallucinating when they're like on the sea.
yeah, like the thing is like
Drinking seawater, like salt water, can like really fuck you up.
I hear like it can really help your nose though.
Yeah,
When you
that's
have
true.
no. That's what my grandma always tells me.
It is true. It clears
Yeah,
up the nose.
and but
It's
yeah, I
also
think
a disinfectant for the for the mouth.
yeah, but I think it's very much like it's a clever use. Like it, it feels like a clever spin on a silent, where thinking like its own unique thing, and I like a lot. And there's like some kind of there's a lot they do a lot of like interesting kind of visual stuff with silent. Also.
Yeah, with like she appears like this bright vision, and like the music starts up, and everything is like angelic.
I'll say this like my I'll say this like my top three like Freaky masters are probably like Desert Square, the Skunk Ape, and then just the Silent. But the Silent is actually very unique. It's honestly up there. Like if just like it's technically
I
based on
think
something,
it's
but
besides the entirely made up Filipino vampire, it's probably the most creative creature we get in Freaky Links,
yeah,
and Desert Squid, of course.
also it's not racist like the Filipino vampire.
Yes, it's not like totally like misrepresenting like folklore from a different culture.
Yeah, this is not like the cop. They're not turned out to be weak and was like not. Oh, she's actually a 100 decade old silent.
It's not like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, where like them being Irish kind of makes the whole anti-capitalist reading make no fucking sense anymore.
Yeah, it's just like I love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
this.
but what I also wanted to note is like this is so much better than the other Ghost episodes. Like,
Yeah, but
because they actually do something creative and not really make it a ghost, even though it's totally doing the vengeful ghost thing. But there is
yeah,
also some united thread because like the hauntings in this show, places are almost never haunted. It's almost always people that get haunted. Like with the ghost episode, it's like the woman who wanted to help the ghost. Then with the Filipino vampire, it's the kid that gets haunted. And now it's like the cops who get haunted by the comatose astral projecting woman.
and she's like a threat because like there's that scene and like where she forces a cop to do suicide. That's actually it's one of the few moments with the freaking school in the show. It's like, Well, this is fucked up.
Yeah, it's actually framed pretty shockingly, like with the shaky cam and the music and the match cut with the glass that breaks when they're watching TV. It's actually
Uh,
very well done.
it's also kind of like for this type of like this. I'll say as like a person with a history of like, let's say a history of self harm. I'll say this is kind of like just somewhat tastefully for like 2000s Fox that scene.
Yeah, and I guess it's also like I guess the meaning behind it is just like the siren is guilt tripping them or tricking them into dying.
Yeah, I think like there's like a
Like
thing like
you can argue if it's suicide or not. Like it could just be the siren that's just manipulating them.
yeah, there's like I think a thing I like about this is you can see just the silent. I guess not as a metaphor, but it's like it's not the part of like oh this is a story about just the water police and this and like the silence just the water
She's
getting to
like an
people.
avenger in a way.
Yeah, it's like it's is she a Zolka type, Ludo?
She doesn't laugh. It's like not funny for her, so that doesn't make her a joke.
Well,
If the siren was like laughing from time to time, that would make her a joker. But she takes that business like very seriously. She's very professional, Siren, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, overall, I really like this episode. I found it very interesting.
Yeah, we like it. Just before we got to music on, we have some master things, mostly in terms of just like.
Oh yeah, I'm also gonna have another thing. I'm gonna have to mention the director. There's some shit.
Okay. Before I got to bad stuff, I just want to say I have done some things on like I mentioned earlier. I have done resource on like some parts of like just policing in Harlem and stuff like that. First, I of course watched the X-Files cops crossover. Was like it itself was a piece of like entertainment. It's pretty okay. It's just like it mostly just uses the cops like thing as that's just like a formalist gimmick that it's pretty good. The X-Files knew how to do gimmick episodes well, but it don't expect any political commentary.
Yeah.
I also watched some actual episodes of Cops,
Damn.
including the fourth season of Cops. And like,
oh my god.
And I can say things like I was saying this it actually looks like that fake Cops from the first episode because I think with Cops and somehow like it makes a lot of sense once you think about it. That so never like changed how it was shot or anything. It still looks like something you would find like at somebody's like grimy basement in the 90s.
Yeah, because of the like car cam footage and all that stuff.
So it's just incredibly hyper super and also like it's just like of course it's police propaganda, but also it's so obby. It's very funny in a way because a lot of its statics are like, wow, look at the wacky person, the cop is the last thing.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of it is like they focus on like wacky instances. So like I say wacky, but like once you actually think about it as a person, any humanity.
Yeah, it becomes like, oh, holy shit, this is like exploitative.
Yeah, no, it's like this black person was arrested for drugs, but they have a big drug stash, and like it's very much one of those things where it does these shocking and wacky moments. It's like just way of like dehumanizing actual people.
Yeah, and like reinforcing a bunch of racist stereotypes about like all the black people with their drug stashes.
And like actually and like the things is like it's just very like eye opening and stuff like of course how a lot of people like very like honestly kind of very seeing like hey I have my rights where you arrest me and the cop is like just yelling but because of the right format it's just both are yelling wackiness. It's
wow.
it's kind of just very insidious and
it's very interesting because like that's like the really nasty form of that police format never landed here, but the ones that we got were like the ones that were like highway chases or stuff like that. It was like we just got the ones that were like focused on like car chases and the action of that. I guess that those were just American ones, by the way, that were just imported and translated poorly.
Yeah, there's no
But
cops. So.
as a kid, I didn't know really about the like cops format outside of that, and like those crime shows where they like talk about unsolved murders or shit. That's like the closest that we got here to that.
I think the show is kind of clever because they spend on so much, not a lot, a very small part on it, but what they do is basically just make fun of it a lot, like the part of like the victims people on the police officer Carla. That's very entertaining.
Yeah. They basically spoof it. Also, like there's the mugshot of like when Derek and Jason get arrested. That scene is very funny. When they're like on TV and it shows them, they get like he talks about getting famous from that. It's like his 15 minutes of fame, being arrested for murder of a cop, probably.
It's very good. So it's a very like good part of making fun of the awful garbage that is cops.
Yeah.
Which is now returning on the announced this year. It's now returning on Fox News streaming service.
But the cop show sounds more like that bounty hunter show that also ended here. That's than those police chases that we got here in German TV.
It's kind of that, just has like a more, I guess, could say like realistic. So, and a lot of it is more just
And I guess that the cops talk less in the car to the suspects about like finding to Jesus.
Yeah, no, those are scenes of like the cops randomly talking to the people filming and saying, "This is my story about this neighborhood."
Oh my god!
Yeah, you do not know what that part is. Like just parts like before they actually like arrested or anything.
They're just like, posturing.
Yeah, they just posted to the filming crew, and it's hilarious. Because it's just like nonsense, like, oh, I love this neighborhood.
Yeah, like, it's so dangerous, like, and I gotta like keep my head up and like watch my back, but I love this. It's like it's in my blood.
It's one of those things where it's both horrifying because it reveals what a lot of police people like how propaganda works, like propaganda, but also it's darkly comic.
I guess it should have like the little text that is in that South Park episode about Scientology, where it says like, "This is what cops actually believe." That would be hilarious. That would save that show.
But yeah, just to not the part so I can mention the director, just not the mention. I also did like a lot of investigate. I did some looking at like horror in terms of cops, because like how horror normally portrays cops tends to be a bit mixed. Of course, because like horror, like any genre, is made by a bunch of people with a bunch of different beliefs, bunch of different beliefs. So it can go from like anti-cops to like incredibly propaganda.
Yeah.
In various ways. In particular, the thing is like this episode a lot when horror tends to set the police as the villains. They mostly do it in like a formal way, where like there's no like evil murder cop. There's just like the institution of policing. When like a lot of horror tends to do that, you can like even look at something like Halloween or like stuff like that, where like it's not specifically critical, but it's playing with certain failures.
Yeah, I thought about it some more after we talked about it like another time, like you mentioned that topic. And like it's not exactly horror, but like the T-2000 in like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
That's like one of the closer aspects where it tries to like be on a like subtextual level, like make reinforcing that like fear of police.
Yeah, like I was actually thinking about the T-2000, even if it's technically not horror when I was first thinking about it, because what a lot of horror does, it's more metaphorical. It's talking about authority itself as being bad. So normally that tends to be like a standing for authority. there's also just cases where like there's just propaganda horror movies because making mainstream films in America that are anti-cop is incredibly impossible.
Yeah, like most media hasn't like changed their view to policing that much lately, even though there's like enough reasons to do so. Um, but it's interesting because that episode really is more radical in a lot of ways than a lot of like current stuff that deals with cops.
Yeah, like, and like of course there's like non-mainstream stuff, like semi-mainstream stuff, but in specific, if you just take a look of like American stuff, it's surprisingly and like going back a bit, of course there's like a lot of stuff like with like a lot of horror plays with fear, so have like stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween again, that kind of plays that because but that was just like wow what if authority loses itself, and then there's just what I like to call cop horror exploitation, I guess, with a cinematic masterpiece, Maniac Cop.
Still need to watch that.
We need to watch that in a movie club someday. I mean, it's kind of amazing. Maniac Cop is a weird movie because it comes from like the New York like 80s, like kind of underground like sleaze cinema stuff like Gorilla Kill and a bunch of other stuff like that. Where it's not anti-police, but it's like so interesting to try to even untangle what its politics is.
Yeah, I guess the writers really didn't believe in anything, I guess, at the end of the day.
Now, so what you have is like, here's this good cop. He was killed for trying to protect the people. Now he's bad. And King Bad Cop, not the good one.
But like, isn't that the point of exploitation? That it doesn't actually have values? Like, it's just exploiting a subject to like get money.
In a way, like, yeah. But also, it's like, I guess it's just interesting to look at. As the second one has the Maniac Cop rap.
Yeah.
That's a rap song about how the Maniac Cop is like the biggest killer around. Really love it. Really amazing stuff. Love it. It's getting an HBO remake, so get hype for it by Nicholas Refn, the Drive guy.
Yeah, I actually want to see that.
I hope, like I told you before, I hope it's like Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, I want it to be like extremely cheesy.
Yes, it's kind of like the Maniac Cop doing jokes and saying, "Hello, it's me, the Maniac Cop."
Yeah, and just like stab somebody.
But yeah, I did some looking and like movies were like Evil Cop is the bad guys. Also kind of hard to find in terms of horror movies. But we have I just put this amazing letterbox list. I made the movies I found. There's a Scanner Cop 1 and 2.
Right.
Is, a spin-off of Conan book Scanners.
Nice. With cops.
An evil cop, I guess, that starts scanning people, exploding people's heads.
Nice.
There's a content warning ableist slur. There's a Psycho Cop.
Yeah, it's probably like very similar to Maniac Cop.
It's a Satanist cop.
Oh, actually. Okay. So it's like more of a night stalker, like Ramirez, satanic serial killer. That's also a cop, though.
Yeah, there's a demon cop.
Okay, that one's probably also satanic.
No, it's a werewolf.
What the fuck? How are you doing this to me? Like, you're setting me up. These titles don't really explain what the movies are about. It sounds like.
Listen. This is like all early 90s and 80s exploitation movies. It's like you get to go with the cat. There's also Vampire Cop.
Okay, don't tell me that's also about the werewolf. That one's really about the vampire, right?
Yeah, that's the Vampire Cop.
Oh god, thanks.
And there's also, this is not a horror movie, but I saw this and it sounds amazing. It's called, there's a Cyborg Cop, which is a cop that's a cyborg.
I guess that's just RoboCop.
I think this may be like a RoboCop ripoff. This was like
Yeah.
1993. When was RoboCop again?
Like late 80s, I think.
Yeah, so this is like a RoboCop ripoff.
Pretty sure it is, yeah.
Yeah, so in conclusion, but yeah, like I think this episode, once you put all the legacy of how like Holler has used cops and images before, it's honestly like there's like more thoughtful, like more of explicitly anti-police work, specifically like by marginalized like Hollow creators and everything. But for the mainstream, it's still pretty
Unique.
astounding, honestly. Yeah.
Like
It's
I can't really compare it to any existing media that like works the same way.
Yeah, like where's the anti-cop episode of Supernatural?
Yeah, like or like you said in like X-Files. Which would be extremely weird if they like just looked at themselves at the end of the episodes and said that, are we the bad guys? Because they're cops. But they never do in that show, as far as I know.
Where they're FBI, so it's like the Utah cops.
They're like super cops.
Yeah.
They're like hyper cops.
You know, it's very fucked up that the X-Files never have an episode where Marty and Scully just accidentally help the CIA coup in South American
Guatemala or
communist country.
something. True. It's
Well,
weird.
well,
It's almost like the FBI and CSI had an interest in like getting portrayed positively in media in the USA.
Wow.
That's weird. But let's talk about the director for a second, because
Okay.
I got some negative revelation for you.
Okay, who's the director?
So it's Randall Miller, and the thing is, this is gonna be very topical because this is related to something that just happened.
Okay.
I'm just gonna read this from the Wikipedia. Miller is the first film director in history to be convicted in the US for the death of a cast or crew member. So he had, I think it was a camera assistant, Sarah Jones, was killed by a train, as far as I know, during the filming of Midnight Rider, a movie that was never finished. And this comes, like, I found this out, like, today. And this is, like, we're recording this right now as, like, the thing happened with Alec Baldwin's movie. And the cinematographer who got shot.
Yeah.
And it's fucked up that to me that in 2015, the first person was convicted in history for the death of a cast or crew member. It never happened before. Like, these people are almost as protected by the law as cops.
Wait, is this counting only in America?
This is in the US. This is just in the US. But still, like, this shows how fucked up that system is.
Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna speculate about the Alec Baldwin thing, of course, but there's been some stuff coming out about, like, it possibly having to do with, like, them removing union safety people, and, like, I'm not gonna because you just told me, but a lot of this type of things happen because directors and like studios just cut corners and like, what if we move the union people with like?
Oh yeah, they totally. That's the thing. They totally broke the law here because they were filming without allowance on a train track that had an unscheduled train. So that's like that's why he got convicted for involuntary manslaughter. That was completely irresponsible. And yeah, union stuff helps with like getting that stuff controlled and regulated, so they just don't run wild like this.
Yeah, like not to go into not to discuss because it's probably not a podcast. But I remember I was talking with a friend about the Alec Baldwin thing, and like a lot of media, in particular, tends to like just. It tends to first like mark like union. Most American comedies mark any type of union, but specifically tends to mark like film unions, in particular like film union safety laws, and particularly like there's also this other stereotype of like the quirky like spunky person who goes against the filming laws for safety and makes their own movie, and that's good actually, and like
yeah, basically just. trying to play it as if it wasn't that important to like maybe protect people's lives. But America is really good at that, like arguing in favor of just killing people or letting them die.
There's not the red tape. It's protecting people from not being killed. We need to cut it down for the.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just a really dark and morbid thing about this episode, that it was like made by the first director to ever get convicted for like getting somebody killed on the set. Yeah, sorry for the bummer, but I thought I had to mention it.
No, that's very important, honestly.
Yeah, because like as much as I want to like say how good this piece of media this is, there's still like some pretty shady stuff connected to it with this.
Yeah, like this thing has the whole like this is a 2000s early 2000s mainstream Fox, so some of the people that did this will somewhat shady to barely shady.
Yeah.
So just one thing, I'm now looking up this movie Midnight Rider, and it was meant to be based on Greg Allman's like biography. It was a Greg Allman biopic.
Yeah, because like Allman Brothers band has like a song called Midnight Rider.
Yeah.
Yo, that's a good segue to go to the musical corner, I'd say.
Music corner. Well, this is not as much as a bummer.
I actually like the music in this episode.
Yeah, the music using it's very kind of good actually. It fits for the episode, honestly.
Yeah, like the right music is used at the right time. Like it feels like that.
Yeah. Going to the episodes, we have first we have the first song, which is "The Sofole" by Antelos Bullet.
Yeah, I think that was like almost trip hoppy song, right?
Yeah, I cannot find out. I mean, I said it. About Antelos Bullet, I cannot find almost anything about them. They were a band, put out some songs, and I can literally find almost nothing about them.
Yeah, they disappeared into obscurity since.
Like for all its issues with your music normally has like people that was just like about any obscure band, they'll just put all the info they can find. But
yeah,
they'll wait to your music like Paige just has 2 songs, just 2 singles, nothing else.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I guess you can't catalog and archive all media all the time.
Wow, but yeah,
some stuff is gonna get lost.
Yeah, but yeah, the second band is actually more interesting. This is the Waco Bottles, so with their song "Where in the Water." They're an alternative country band. They call themselves as a country punk.
They were in another episode, right?
No, that's another band. This show had a couple like country bands, like alternative country bands. In particular, like though, they were created by a John Langford, who is a Welsh musician, and which was a member of the Mercons. I'm not. Are you familiar with the Mercons? No.
No.
The Mercons are a 70s like post-punk art collective. They're like possibly like one of the biggest like 70s British bands that got a bit forgotten. Like their music used to be like they had country songs, they had folk music, they had like alternative rock, and like even played it to dub with like dub production and stuff like that.
Okay.
They're kind of very interesting. They're like one of those like I'm guessing you're like familiar with like are you familiar with The Fall? Luna?
Yeah, I heard of them.
Like The Fall, they were like one of those like post-punk bands that just put out a million musics. They put out also an album like last year.
Oh wow!
Be a Bandcamp, so like they're still putting out music. They're kind of very interesting, and it kind of makes sense that Langford was barely into like country music because like listening to that, a lot of Macon stuff just was like it had this thing of like but like UK people who are like barely into like Southern American like Appalachia stuff. So like they played a lot like that imagery and stuff like that. They actually had like barely like their lineup in previous lineup or like barely like
What
doesn't
was
feel.
that?
That's my neighbor's dwelling. My neighbor's dwelling.
Oh damn! Let's speed up this music corner so we
Yeah.
don't have too much drilling in the podcast.
But
The
yeah, like
driller
the
killer has come.
it's the dweller killer. But yeah, just to go very quickly, they had the quality from members having like a who's who. Like they have a their members used to include like a guitarist for like KDFM. They have some. They used to have somebody playing bass from like that was like the bass player for the Waterwalk. It's like one of the biggest like alternative country bands. Their current lineup has like people from like Ziza Zones and a bunch of other like UK known bands and stuff like that. They're like
Okay.
pretty known. Apparently, they actually even toured with some like country people. So they're actually pretty known. The song in I think you know the song in the episode that they played, right?
Yeah, I think I faintly. Is it that one that's played in the bar?
I think it yeah, but they're. I listened to some rockabouts and like they're more like they're often at points they're like not even alternative country. They like play a lot with like traditional country sounds. Kind of interesting, honestly. But yeah, the police was on. And then the last one, and this is weird because it was not the list I used to know which song has been the episode does not list which song has been. There was apparently a song by Trailer Bride in this episode. It does
Yeah,
not say which song.
but it's like that's the artist that already was on this show, right?
Yeah, we already talked about Trailer Bride. They're like astronaut alternative country band. That we talked about, we don't need to cover them again.
Yeah.
This was a very small music corner, but I would say the use of music in this episode is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I felt it very appropriate.
Yeah, but so yeah, you can find me on Twitter as Alice Wolf no. Twitter as Alice Wolf Water. I have a Patreon. Give me money.
Hell
Ludo.
yeah. You can find me on Twitter, Ludovico Limited. Yeah. Nice episode, big fun. See y'all next time for the one of the last episodes, the last episode review.
Yeah, let's go. Bye.
Bye.
Reality? It isn't my world, freaks.